Welcome to one more Best Practices Spotlights by Build Up California. Best Practices Spotlight Series showcases examples of the work well in spanning, improving and sustaining childcare facilities in our communities. By increasing the quality of our childcare facilities, we provide optimal environments for children, staff, and families. One that fosters relationships, nurture development, promotes health and wellness, and facilitate learning. When planning for childcare spaces improvement, it can be overwhelming to know where to start and what to pursue. In this webinar, we will learn how to identify improvements needed for home-based facilities, and hear about best practice solutions from experts in the field. My name is Jessica Magdaleno, and I am a family childcare provider in the city of Orange County in California. I am a member of Build Up California, a statewide network of early learning facility champions launched just last year. We advocate very hard for a state investment in childcare facility last year. And this year, we have the opportunity to apply for these funds. Therefore, the webinar will inform us about best practices that are examples of what we can do to improve our physical environments with these grants. Before we introduce our team of experts, here today, I want to share some information about logistics. This event is being hosted in English with simultaneous translations to Spanish and Mandarin. This event is also being hosted in a webinar mood. Please use the chat to share your comments and questions and action functions to ask your questions. It also broadcasts on Facebook. So let me introduce our team here today. Clara Nakai, Kathy Tama, Pamela Campos, and Jamila Hanif. Welcome, everybody.
Hi, I'm Kathy Tama. I am an early learning facility design specialist. And I had my start very early in my career as I worked as a teacher's aide, a teacher, a lead teacher, a curriculum coordinator, then a director of a center. And I did all of that direct service for about 15 years. And then I wound up in roles where I was actually doing design of childcare facilities. And my background in direct service gave me a great foundation for how to design environments that make children, where children can learn and teachers can teach better.
Oh.
Clara?
Hi, I'm Clara Nakai, and I work for Modesto City Schools Elementary School District. I am a family childcare home coordinator, and I work with Early Head Start and a family childcare home network. I have been with Modesto City Schools in this role for 22 years, and prior to that, I was a family childcare provider for 12. Thank you for having me.
Pamela?
Hello, my name is Pamela Campos, and I am a policy and program associate with Live and Build Up California. I have been an ECE educator for over a decade, working in the South Bay and Peninsula. And for the last 2 years, I was a technical assistance coordinator with Build Up for San Mateo County's children, providing resources and education to diverse stakeholders wanting to learn about how to develop early care and education facilities in San Mateo County. So happy to be here.
I am Jamila Hanif. I own and operate a family home childcare here in the city of Vallejo, Watch Me Grow Childcare. And I am excited to get this information from a lot of experts today on, the great ideas they're going to present as far as repairs and renovation, especially during a time as COVID, where we want to create those optimal environments for our children and safe environments for our children as well as us providers. So I'm excited to be here today to learn from you all.
Okay, so then I'm going to share my screen and we will get started.
Perfect.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
I can.
Perfect. Give me just 1 second here. I'm so sorry. Okay, you can still see my screen? We're good?
Yes, from here.
Okay.
Yes, we can see it, Clara.
Perfect. Well, thank you for having me. My name is Clara Nakai. I work at Modesto City Schools, and I'm currently the coordinator for our Early Head Start and Family Childcare Home Network program. I have been with Modesto City Schools for about 22 years, working with anywhere from 8 providers up to 22 or more. We do run a network, and it is a little bit different in that our family childcare networks have to meet state regulations like Title V, the same as like what a preschool would. And so there's like rating scales and environments have to be a certain way. And then we brought on Early Head Start, which, added even more requirements. And so what we were finding is that our environments needed to speak to that. And so we had hired consultants probably up to 5 to 7 years ago to actually come in and help with our environments. And so that's what I'm going to share with you. Things that we know worked and actually made the lives of the providers easier. I am a family childcare provider for 12 years. It's how I started my career. I have a passion for family childcare homes, and I know how hard family childcare providers work. I know the struggles we go through with the balance between home and running a business in our home. I raised all 3 of my boys in family childcare, and I know the balance between having to raise and care for your own children and having to care for everybody else's kids along with that. I understand what it's like when we feel vulnerable by people walking into our homes. And so I just want you to know that I hear you, I feel for you, and my heart is there for each and every family childcare provider. And without you, it would be a very sad place, because parents, you provide a service where parents can keep all of their children with you, and you are meeting their needs in aspects that others cannot. So here we go. Why are facility improvements important? They're crucial. A lot of it is also the goal of making your lives easier while meeting the needs of children. We spend a lot of our time caring for multi-ages. You can have a baby and you can have all the way up to a 12-year-old, and those needs are going to be different. And so your facility, your environment helps. Environments can actually be like your second helper. They can provide a service and make your life even easier by having activities available, having different areas for them to play and entertain themselves, which helps you in the long run. We also know that environments are critical to contributing to a child's cognitive and physical development. Having a variety of different ages and stages and materials and items to be able to help with those kiddos will help them develop and grow. Increasing the supply of quality family childcare homes is huge. Thanks to the pandemic and COVID, family childcare has been put on the map. We're being talked about. When there was no other childcare, it was family childcare providers that stepped up and stayed open and provided services. And so running those quality programs not only helps your life and makes it easier, but it also benefits the children and families. It separates you from other sources of childcare. And so we're going to go through this and see other ways that we can think, because you're being given an opportunity right now to make those improvements, where before, when it comes out of pocket, that's hard. You know, we're trying to live our lives, raise our children. So to have the extra money to put into a quality program can be a huge challenge. Where do we start? And that's probably the biggest thing. We see our environment every day. So I think I would suggest looking at your environment completely different. Walk into your environment as though you were a parent that was going to bring their kid to your home, right? And what do you see? What steps out to you? Do the walls need to be painted? You know, is there not enough health and safety items around? So really kind of taking a look. And then I would make a wish list. Like, what are the things I would really love to do? If you could have anything, what would I do? Checklists are really helpful because they help guide the thought process. They're not going to cover everything, but they're going to come pretty darn close to covering everything that you're going to need. Look at your outdoor areas. This opportunity is giving you a chance to expand it even to outdoors. Is it beneficial to have an outdoor classroom? You know, whatever you do inside, you can do outside. Kids love to be outside. Does that make your life a little bit easier? Is your space really small inside so that maybe extending to an outdoor classroom is key? Here is an example of a checklist that is pretty thorough. It has just about every area we can think about. And I believe this is actually going to be put into the chat, the link for you guys, so that you'll be able to use it. I did take like one page of it just to kind of show you an idea of what I was talking about. So on this checklist, it really divides it out. You can look at your diaper and toileting area. In family childcare, most often where we care for our children is completely separate from the restroom. And so you may have to, I have providers where their restrooms are literally on the other side of the house. And so with as often as we have to wash hands, they are constantly going back and forth, you know, to wash hands, to get ready for snack, for lunch, after messy play. And so diapering and toileting kind of follows in those same areas where oftentimes we leave our environment to have to change that diaper and then to have to go wash the child's hands. So this kind of breaks it down for you and just makes you think about ways that you can increase your environment to help cut down on how often you're having to move from one place to the other. So let's talk about this.
I want to ask you something, Clara.
Sure.
So on your other slide where you put the map, right, of the facility.
Yes.
So this is one of the things that you recommend family childcare providers do, like lay out of what they have now and then laid out what they want to add for having more clear understanding on what they want to improve.
So this works for me, Jessica. And it doesn't have to be that you lay it down before, but like, let's say you are wanting to add a sink into your environment. So if you just map it out, and it doesn't have to be perfect either, right? Just kind of draw a rough estimate of what your room looks like with no furniture in it, and then start adding your pieces, because you'll know, you know what, I can add a sink here, and then I can have tables here, and I still have all this other room for these other things. Or maybe you're a small environment and this is your living room. So in that case, you're going to want to draw your couch and your family's area, and how much room do you have to be able to put storage or put the things that are going to make your world a little bit easier. You do not have to draw a map, but they can be helpful when you are trying to buy items, because what you don't want to do is buy a bunch of things that aren't going to fit.
Yes, that's why. I'm sorry, Kathy.
Oh, I was going to say, you know what I often do, because I'm really bad at drawing. Clara, that's such a gorgeous layout. Mine's all like
no, I didn't draw this.
Oh, okay. Is I take a picture. I think it's really good. You've got your camera, take photos, take a couple of them and move down the wall or stand in the middle of the room and go click, 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 so you get it. Because sometimes that helps refresh your memory if you're sitting at a dining room table or the kitchen table, or even if you're outside. So that helps jog your memory too, especially when you're going to see some of the before and afters that Claire's going to go through.
Okay, this is great, guys, because as family childcare providers and being the first time doing this, it gives us a better understanding on how can we start, right? How can we start making our environments look more to the different. So that is great ideas. Thank you.
You're welcome. And Jessica, the other part is that my goal for you guys also is that you work not as hard as you're working right now. So like if we can add things and we can increase your ability to not work as hard.
Yes,
that's my goal.
So.
Because I don't
want to work that hard.
No, well, you're already doing 10 and 12-hour days, right? Yes, so if we can just cut down, even save you an hour here or there, why not?
Yes.
Let's do it, right?
This is beautiful, Clara, because I was speaking to a provider yesterday and she said, I have to go back to the kitchen area, come back to my room, go back to the kitchen area. When I come back, the kids out of the table. It taking me twice of the time that it used to take me before, because she just moved to another facility. So she was explaining her situation. And right now, the way you guys explain it, it does make sense, you know, like do less work. So yes. when we're planning, guys, you're listening out there, let's plan it to do less work. Okay.
Yes. And we can save time with just these simple things.
Yes.
So sinks are huge. I remember when I had brought Louis Torelli in to help me remodel some of the family childcare homes right before we went on to early Head Start. And then I sit on the program for infant and toddler care, which is where I met him. And he would talk about in center-based programs, adding sinks. And I sat there and I would shake my head because it was like, you know, this is a family childcare home. It's just not that easy to throw a sink in.
Yes.
And so I had went and talked to him and he's like, I'm telling you, it will save so much. And so I said, okay, let's do this. So we went out to the family childcare homes. And the very first thing we would talk about was, you need a sink. You know, your bathroom is way on the other side of the house. You're having to take, you know, constant, right? One child washes their hand, the next one. And it was taking away from supervision. And by the end of the day, you're exhausted because look at your Fitbit, you've probably walked 20,000 steps, you know? And
Yes, we
so
do the exercise as well.
yes. And so in this first picture, this provider was like, nope, not going to do it. It's just, there's just, my environment is smaller. I'm, you know, blah, blah, blah. And we're like, look, on the other side of this wall right here is her kitchen. And so we said, you could put a sink right here, plumb it into your water source that's already there. And her tables are right on the other side of this, right? So you could sit and eat or get ready for lunch. You can wash your hands. You've finger painted, you can go wash your hands. You're no longer having to go through the other room, around the corner and down the hall. So she's like, okay, fine, I'm just going to do it. A week later, she calls me and she says, oh my gosh, I am so sorry for telling you and fighting you on this. She goes, this is a life changer. She says, the amount of time I am able to avoid having to traipse back and forth to the bathroom is incredible. The other thing is that I'm going to bring up COVID again, right? Make sure you're washing those hands for 20 seconds and how often you need to wash the hands. If you add up 6 children, how many times you wash hands, the 20-second rule, you're literally going to live in your restroom. Okay. Yes. It's right there for you. So it just reduces it. In this second picture, same scenario. Providers like, this is ridiculous. I'm not going to do it. Right through a door around the corner is a child-sized bathroom. They can go there. Her restroom is on this wall, this side wall. And so we talked to her about, it's easy enough to just add to the water line. She did it. She was probably my hardest one to convince. It probably took me a few more months. Once she did it, she said the same thing. She goes, even though her bathroom was still kind of in that childcare area, she still wasn't having to leave the room and go around the corner where she couldn't see them. I wanted her to cut a hole in her bathroom wall so she'd be able to look into the room, but she wasn't down for that. So game changer for her. Now in this third picture, this provider did a remodel. And so this bathroom is located in the family child care, you know, where she takes care of the children. And it's already child size. It has a child size toilet and sink, but you can see the different stages and that it doesn't have to be super complicated.
Clara, I have a question for you. Back to those other sinks. Are those like sinks that you get at Home Depot and Lowe's? And then how did you get them to be short?
Yes. So these cabinets were, I think, maybe $100. And then they bought the sink to drop them down in there. And we cut them. So we cut them to make, or not we, but usually their husbands would cut them so that they would be shorter to the ground. You can tell in this one, it is a little bit taller for some of her super little ones. And so she still has a step stool next to it, but you know, your 3 and ups can need it easily.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But I was wondering, maybe Kathy can answer these questions. There's child size sinks that can be purchased and put in like Clara just explained, right?
Yes, there are. And in fact, we'll probably, I wound up making after speaking with you and after speaking with Clara, I put together kind of where to buy stuff list.
Oh,
and what installation heights, like where do you buy the sinks? Where do you buy, you know, the trough sinks? And so we'll probably post them somewhere and then people can get them. And I tried to put, you know, the most common places to get them. You can get some of the sinks or the trough sinks right from Home Depot.
Yeah.
And hopefully if we get through our slides, I'll be able to show you that too, Jessica, because I did include them in the presentation.
Yes.
So that hopefully
I just want to mention providers that this is a great option to request the grant for, because when COVID-19 hit us, many of us didn't have the space to wash our hands either outside in our patio areas or in the front of our property when the children arrive, right? So I think this is a great option to be added into the spaces that we have now, and it's COVID related. And it's one of the 3 components that we can use to apply for this grant. So
It's also health
thank
and
you so much.
safety. Yes, Jessica, it also follows under health and safety too. So it's
Yes.
actually hitting 2 of the areas, which will just make it that much more convincing.
Yes, yes, thank you for that idea.
So since we did sinks indoors, because remember, whatever you do indoors, we can do outdoors. We
Mhm.
did sinks outdoors. And this one was an even bigger change for providers because you didn't have to take all the kids inside to go wash the hands for one. We started with this one that's over here, as these are like outdoor garden sinks. And so it was like, okay, at the time, this was pretty much one of the only sinks that was like available where you could like put it lower, and you know what I mean? It just felt like it worked. And I liked it because at the end of the day, you could put your soap inside here, put the nozzle down, and then close it up. Like it, I just felt like it worked really well. Over time, providers have done things like this. This is another one of those like bathroom vanity sinks, and then they cut the legs to lower it. And then this one, he put on the other side of the yard where there wasn't necessarily a water source. And so these pipes right here, he attached to the water source that's on the other side of the yard. And then he used like a little, it's hard to see, but there's like an on and off switch to be able to turn the water off. So now these children could actually wash hands and have snack outside, wash hands after playing in the mud, wash hands after painting, and the provider didn't have to constantly go back into the house to let that happen.
Can you do, Clara, a quick show them that the sink to the right is just hooked up with hoses?
Yes, this is just exactly. And then so there's a hose for drainage, and then there was a hose that was actually just hooked up to the faucet. Diaper changing is another one of those areas that can take us out of our environment. And so if there's a way that you can move your diaper changing into your childcare room and still meet the needs for yourself, this is huge. And this is another one as a past provider that I looked at this, and Lewis would tell me, Clara, they have to have stairs. And I'm like, there's just no room. And he's like, you don't understand. Like they can, lifting up a 30 and 40 pound child, putting them up on a table to change their diaper is going to wear out a provider's back. He was absolutely right. These right here, almost all of our diaper changing tables, even if it's not something this big, has steps with it in order to save providers' backs. This one, she got the table that has an adult sink already with it, because she was able to change diapers, wash her hands, and then let the kids wash their hands in this sink, and didn't have to constantly leave the environment. So you have 3, 4 in diapers. This is going to save you a huge amount of time if you can make it work. This provider took this.
I have a question about the other slide. So when you mentioned they have this sink with the water, is that like a portable setup, or it's attached to the wall and they did some plumbing work? No, not that one, for the diapering.
Oh, I'm sorry. This actually, so this is a wall between her backyard. And so there was already a water source, and they were able to plug it in to tap into that water source.
Okay.
So was there plumbing? There is a little bit of plumbing in being able to add on to the water source. Luckily, her husband is handy because at the time I wasn't allowed to pay for anything like that. That was like, that could structurally change their home. I could just cause the issues, right? I could just buy everything and go, okay, put it in. But he had an easy enough time being able to install both the little sink and the bigger sink.
Okay, perfect. That will be a great area to improve.
Right.
Yes.
And I just want to mention that sink, and we have it listed in the back resources, comes with stairs on the sink on the right and the sink on the left. So it comes in both configurations if it happens to fit
And-
the wall better.
And even like I said, even if you're not able to do something like this, think about if you have a diaper table, some way for your older ones to be able to get on that table by themselves, or not even older necessarily, but your heavier kiddos. Think about the health of you also, okay? This provider took it a step further and she added a diaper changing area outdoor because she found that she had like 7 kiddos at one point that were in diapers. And since they were already, she had more of that outdoor classroom environment. And so this allowed her to be outdoors and not have to constantly remove them from the environment to go change. And then she added her adult sink here so that she was able to wash after diaper changing. And then the little brown sink that you saw was on the other side of this diaper changing area for the kids.
These are great ideas. Honestly, I never thought of maybe having an outside diapering changing area.
You know what? I can't
which
take
is
credit
good.
for this thought either because I didn't think of this either. I just showed up one day and it was there and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so smart.
And especially for us in California, this, in some parts of California, because, the weather is so great and you can be outside just about all the time. So.
Yes,
Right.
that is true. And yes, providers, this will be record so you can watch it later. There's some providers asking if this will be recording and I'm saying, yes, we will have it ready for you guys later.
Shade in a family childcare home, it can be a challenge. We have trees, but sometimes those trees don't hit the shade where they need to be. Sometimes we don't have trees in the middle of our yard, but that's where the kids want to play. And so these next few slides, I'm going to share some shade ideas that we have done. In this particular environment, you can see that it is all cement. There is no grass out here. And then these are rubber tiles that were laid out. So this environment could get extremely hot. What we were finding is they could go out during the day, but once afternoon hit or mid-morning, it was too hot. And so these were shade sails, and I mess up when I have to say that word too many times, so bear with me, that they put up. And you can see how big they are because this backyard was very wide. Again, I was not permitted to install them. I could buy everything, but I couldn't install them. So her husband put in these huge, like galvanized metal poles, and he attached it to the top of those and then over to the roof. And you can see how much shade is covered in that backyard. On this one,
the interesting thing about that fabric, to let you know, so Claire will talk about the companies that make this, but that fabric actually lowers the temperature under them by 15 degrees.
Yes.
So especially when it gets super hot in the summer.
And I bought these from San Diego Shade Sales because they had such a variety of different sizes for me and color that it was like a one-stop shop. This provider already had a carport here that covered up this back part. And this slide's a little hard to see, but this front part still wasn't in the shade. And so we added a shade sail here. And he installed it by using this pole, galvanized so that it doesn't rust, and then attached it to the side of his house. In this yard, there was nowhere for me to attach a sail. And so these structures here were built in order to support the shade sails. And then you can see she already had a carport in the very back that she was using as well. In this home, she does have a tree, but this patio area wouldn't be covered in shade. So up here, she put like a shade screen. And then in the back where the sandbox was, before she built the storage shed, she put up a shade sail back here as well to cover the sandbox so they could play more.
I just want to mention it's really important when you put in the shade sails is to make sure they're tilted into, they're tilted so it actually gives shade. If you put them flat, oftentimes you don't get the shade you need because the sun comes in on an angle. So you want to tilt your shade sails on an angle.
And then here's another one that this whole play area would have been in the sun had she not had a shade sail. And on this one, she attached it to this poor little tree over here, and then a pole, and then to the side of her house. Now, these shade sails, these providers do take them down when it starts getting ugly weather. And so they have lasted, I want to say they've probably been there for 5 years. Because they don't leave them up during the winter time. We do get winds here, but nothing like Southern California Santa Ana's. So if anybody's ever been in a Santa Ana wind, because I'm a Southern California girl.
My backyard got destroyed many times, times, you guys. I think I had spent so much money replacing those things.
Yeah, and I think too, because if you read from the company, they're supposed to withstand high winds, but I think you have to install them, correctly. Where these were husbands that were putting them up, so I would stop complaining about the sun. And I don't know that they knew the exact logistics of how to put them up. So they do withstand winds probably up to 10, 15 miles an hour, but I don't know about any, like if you're going to go higher than that, I would probably seek a professional.
You can actually, not only when you buy these, you buy the installation of them so they can be professionally installed.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
And that's probably, since you have an opportunity, that's probably the route that I would probably go. Just because I feel like it's a little bit more secure. Now, if you're in an area that you don't have to worry about 40, 50 mile an hour winds, then I would say you're good.
Well, I just wrote it down as an option for me.
Yeah.
So let's see.
Options, they work really well.
Yes.
I'm glad to see you're taking notes because that's
yes.
what we want everyone to do so you can get that wish list
Everybody
going.
should be taking notes, guys. Everybody should be taking notes.
So supervision is big for us because we have to meet Head Start regulations and state regulations. So everything we do, we try to base around supervision. So I wanted to show you that you said you had a provider that was talking about how she has to go to her kitchen constantly and then to the childcare room. And I don't know if she has a visual on the kids or not, but simple things like cutting a hole in your wall, I'm not supposed to call it that, but it's a pass-through. Where you can be in your kitchen, but you can still see what's happening in your childcare room is a thought. Right. And so maybe it's not a kitchen on the other side, maybe it's something else. But if you can make a decorative pass through so that you can still have supervision, this will save you as well.
Yes, let me tell you, I want to share with providers here that right when the pandemic started, we were planning to do that in my home. So I will be able to see the kids when we're cooking. Right, because it was a wall right there that prevented me to see in the living room area. And I was looking into do something like that. But you know what I end up doing at the end of everything, the planning and stuff, we took out all of the wall. And because I thought it was going to be easier. But at the beginning, I thought of that, of like having like a hole, like you call it,
Yeah.
a see-through, right? So we can see the kids. What are you doing? What are you doing? I'm watching you always. So, but we end up removing the wall. But that's a great idea. And now we can see like everything. Like we don't have no obstacles to see.
Yeah.
And doesn't it make your life easier?
Yes, it's more easier because
Yeah.
I'm telling you, and then the stuff, it's facing that way, so I can see them. You know, so we're cooking, or my mom is cooking because she helps me in the kitchen, but she can see them. I'm like,
Absolutely.
we're watching you, what you're doing. So
Yes. Well, and it's just like human nature. If any of us, you know, if I'm at work and I think my boss isn't watching, I might talk a little bit more often, you know, or get a little loud. Kids are the same way, right? It's not like they're like, ooh, let's wait for Jessica to leave the room, but it's like, hey, you know, look how loud we're getting. So it just,
Yes.
Well,
helps.
it also leaves for that good supervision, like you were saying, but
Yes.
it also leaves for you to be able to manage not only visually but auditorily be able to speak with them. You know,
Yeah.
taking out a wall is a great idea, but if you're able to do that, some people can't. So having a pass through is perfect. I mean, it really helps.
This house actually had this beautiful oak cabinet entertainment center that was built into the wall that they were really proud of. She ended up remodeling and turning like this whole room into a childcare room and like extended a living room so she would have more room for herself. And so she added this pass through because her kitchen is right over here, to aid with supervision and things like that. And then what she also did, and I don't have a picture of it, I'm sorry, but I'm going to talk about it anyway, is in the opposite corner of this room, she put like a little refrigerator and an adult sink and some like cabinets to hold the snack food. And so she was able to actually not even have to necessarily leave the environment. She could put whatever she was going to have for snacks for however many days that little refrigerator would hold it. And she would be able to have it all readily available right where the kids were sitting. So quality program is one of those things that I'm really passionate about. We work really hard to not only help with providers and save them less time and energy, but we also work on building up their programs. And I do this for several reasons. For one, it helps you as the provider. It will extend your life doing family childcare business if things flow easy for you, right? When it's not hard and it's not a super big challenge, it makes it easier. I also like that when community care licensing comes out and checks on these homes, that things are in order. It makes those visits so much easier. I get monitored by the state of California. We have monitoring reviews, and our programs have been noticed as exemplary programs just because of the ease. Everybody's busy, supervision is easy, providers are able to just make things flow a little bit more. So these next couple of slides I'm going to show you are before and after pictures. I'm going to ask that you just keep in mind, remember that I'm a network. And so some of these homes you're going to look at and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, that looks like a center. You're right. A lot of these providers had designated rooms already where they were only doing family childcare in. And so we were able to go into those areas and create the types of environments that help meet Title V regulations and Head Start regulations. So in this provider, she is a smaller environment, and this was her family's living room, and this was their only main space. Okay, down the hall was the restrooms and the bedrooms. And so she was having a challenge because she didn't have room for storage. she's like, every time a child wants to do an activity, I have to leave this environment to go get it and bring it back out. And so her big thing was she wanted help with storage. I do want you to note these security screen doors, because they are great additions to a home that will help with natural lighting and ventilation and still keep you secure. Okay. So for her, we went and we added storage. These cabinets are actually shelves, I'm sorry, are on wheels. So you flip this little tongue up, the wheels drop down, and she's able to wheel them out of her environment, fully loaded with everything on them, when she wants it, her room, either at night or on the weekend. And so this for her was a huge game changer, because children now could take whatever activity they wanted. She didn't have to feel like she had to constantly go get it and bring it back. And then we also divided up her room a little bit by using different area rugs to define a little bit more areas. So even though she had the one room, these pillows and rug are easy enough to pick up and move when she wanted just to have her living room back. Over here was originally a sliding glass door. And she added French doors, which was nice because she could open up all three sections of those screen door of that French doors, and there were screens on the other side. And so ventilation with that front door open and those French doors open, you had a nice flow of air going through. Plus you had the natural light without the worrisome of just big sheets of glass for the kiddos.
Look, I'm looking at the small space that she had, and you guys help her turn that into different areas, more
Yes.
space, more storage, more lighting. It's beautiful. I like it.
Thank you. Thank you. She loves it.
Can you
It
come over
saved her.
and transform mine, please?
Good. So here, paint, right? Paint is huge, huge. And I remember taking Lewis out the very first time to a family childcare home, and this is the home I took him to. And I remember him walking in and looking at the walls and looking at me and going, oh no. And I'm like, she is attached to her colored walls. Like, it's not going to be an easy feat, And so I said, your walls are kind of bright, and, bright, sharp colors actually can overstimulate a child. And so you might see a lot of children get a little bit more hyper, or you might see behaviors come up. And a lot of times it's because there's too much going on in their world. And we don't realize that. We think that the more we have and the brighter it is, the better it is. And so you can see there's a lot happening in this room, right? There's a lot of bright colors. This carpet right here was the only rug that they really had where children could sit and play. So number one, it also is really bright to go along with all the bright walls, and was really their only area. Storage was huge with all this stuff out. The kids really, even though there was a lot of activities, it was really hard to get to the things to pull out and play with. So
wow, that is beautiful. I feel already calm.
She was willing to paint the wall. Her non-negotiable was the tree had to stay. I was cool with that. So she painted her walls. She laid floor carpeting down here. And look how much bigger her space is now for kids to sit and play. Yes, they don't have to sit on the tile floor over here. They can now have a larger area.
The other reason to do a kind of a light colored wall is it's for lighting. And actually paint has a reflective value to it. So
Wow.
it can reflect light, and especially if you don't have a lot of natural light or in your, don't have a lot of windows, that's a way to maximize the light that you do have in a room.
We also
would-
added a mirror here, which not only makes the room look a little bit bigger, but it also reflects the light. And of course,
No,
the kids can see themselves dress up, but
this was a very beautiful transformation. And when you went back and then you go to this one, you can feel like relax,
Right.
exactly.
right?
Exactly. And painting is covered under your opportunity. So just to put that out there.
Clara, can you go back to that one and talk about, this is the same room, talk about the floor carpet tiles, because they are
these floor
so
carpet
special.
tiles, yes, I was not allowed to go in and actually buy carpeting, because again, that was a home improvement and I just couldn't justify that. So we did these floor carpet tiles. These tiles are amazing. They come with little round stickies, and you can put these anywhere, and they do not damage your floor. Okay, so let's say this tile right here gets dirty. I can pull it up, go wash it, and put it back down. They're great for being able to define a space. So in this one, we only defined up to the cubbies, and then the rest was left open. But they're very beneficial. So like, let's say I had providers that were renting. And so for them to have to make any structural changes like that wouldn't have worked. And so these floor carpet tiles worked great because I could still define area, not damage the floor. And when the provider, if she ever moved or, wasn't able to rent anymore, it could just easily come up.
Yeah, I just want to mention they're non-adhesive. You don't stick them to the floor. You get little discs like really heavy tape, and they stick to each other.
Only in the corners. I mean, it's amazing, you guys. It's life-changing. It's life-changing.
I'm just gonna tell you right now that you just bring a great option to providers who are renting, because I have received calls and they're telling me, how do I fix my floor? This is a great option. Yes. Honestly, I never, okay, I was thinking of carpeting, but not the way you say it right now. You call it carpeting floor tiles. And that doesn't go into that you said that I just forgot. It doesn't go into.
No, it doesn't adhere. It doesn't, you don't glue it. You don't peel off.
It doesn't
stick
to the floor.
No, but the other option is not
a home improvement.
A home improvement.
Yeah.
It doesn't qualify for that. It qualifies for the renovation and the space thing. So this is a great idea, you guys. And I think the providers are getting excited on the chat about this option.
Good. Okay, the name of this is, in case, I mean, we'll talk about it later, but it's FLOR. FLOR, and you have to, they have a website. They're, you're going to, if there's a lot of traffic, look at the ones that are determined heavy traffic. Yes. But not all of them are heavy traffic. But if you don't, if you have a small group of kids, don't bother. But they will send you samples and they will send you a catalog.
Okay, great. I think you guys need to share that information to where can we look at it and request like the different type of options they have. That's a great idea, guys. I'm really liking it.
I'm starting to run out of time, but I do want to share more with you guys. So I'm going to move a little bit quicker. I'm so sorry, but I really want you to see outdoors as well.
Yes, please. Sorry, I'm not going to interrupt anymore.
No, it's okay. I just want to make sure you can see everything. So in this home, what I want you to notice is that the lighter color makes the room look bigger and brighter. We added all this wall storage up here, and then of course the neutral carpeting. Here's another picture that shows the wall storage. And this was beneficial because it was easy grab, right? With this open shelf down here, if she needed paint or she needed a game, she could easily grab it without having, you know, to leave the environment, or they didn't feel as bulky on the wall either. Oh, I'm sorry. They also added lighting to the back of this room to just kind of brighten it up a little bit more. This is before where they ate, and you can see all the chairs and tables are large size. And here, now they can move around freely because of the storage. And then there's multi-size tables and chairs for health and safety reasons. Kids can't fall out of the chairs if their feet touch the floor. And so you kind of want to look at that too.
Okay, just quickly, the other reason you want that upper cabinet wall storage is you take storage off the floor, so you have more activity area.
Absolutely. This was the other section of her house. This was intended for an infant toddler area. You can see how bright and overstimulating it is. And then we changed it to be more open. Notice this little table and little chairs, which again is a health and safety, so that they could touch the ground when they sit. And then this is where she added her diaper table and sink. I'm so sorry. And then she also added this diaper storage. Huge. I don't have to get into everybody's diaper bag. These shelves are labeled. I know whose are what. I have my gloves here. I have my paper here. We're done, right? Change that diaper and move on. This was another home. This is before, again, overwhelming. This dark carpet not only was too much, but it also was under the tables and chairs where children ate, so it could pose a health and safety issue with dropped food. And this is it afterwards. Again, notice the smaller chairs for the little ones to sit in. We have more storage, her pass-through, and then notice the gate that is between her kitchen and the play area. Same room, different angle. Pay attention to this corner, okay? This is where that little sink was added that I was talking about. And see how close it is to her tables. Her bathroom was through here and around the corner. This area, she had these, they're like the accordion style type of doors. And you can tell that they probably needed to be replaced, but they don't make these anymore. She was having a hard time finding them. And she wanted to make sure it separated her living space from her designated childcare space. So she wouldn't let me take them down. And then just how much is going on. And so we put a curtain up and wall storage. Now these kiddos, and then floor carpeting. See how I defined the area? And so now they can play with blocks and have a space that is movable in. Outdoors, remember your opportunity will cover your outdoor area. And I remember as a family childcare provider, I would spend thousands putting in grass, and in one season, because you have lots of little feet on your grass, it would die and I'd have to do it all over again. So think about things like that. Okay. Think about maybe pavers or brick walls that you have, you know, shorter planter walls that you really want more space. Just open mind. This provider, this was her outdoor environment. This little fencing went around her air conditioner unit just for health and safety reasons. And then over here, she had a big backyard, and she wanted, because she had younger kids of her own, she wanted them to still have their own space. And so she wanted to put a fence between her designated childcare area and her family area. So you can see right here, she put up a 6-foot vinyl fence that gave them their privacy as a family on the other side. Adding her outdoor sink allowed for kiddos to be able to eat their lunch and have their snack outside, have messy play. And then this she used for storage. This sink is right here. This is looking out from that patio to her backyard. She was able to put new fencing along the back of the house. So she put her vinyl fencing here. She put the fencing to separate the house. She added this big storage area because we all know as family childcare providers, we collect a lot of things and we do not like to let them go. And so this way
very true.
I know, I remember. And then this grass is actually turf that she put down because she was one that every year they were re-sodding, and this will actually end up saving her money in the long run.
Clara, I have a question about that, the turf.
Sure.
I hear some providers saying that, well, let me rephrase my question. Will this not be into the safety requirements? Because I hear that sometimes this turf, it turns a little bit hot when it's summer, and if the kids have no shoes, they can.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
So you have to buy the cool turf. There is turf that they make that is cooler, like 15 degrees cooler.
Okay.
And then remember, Jessica, that you're going to want your shade.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So now, if you have an area that is strictly in the sun, I would not recommend putting turf in. No, just because I don't care what it is or how great it is, it's going to get hot. You know what I mean? But if you can keep it in the shade and buy the cool turf, yes, you'll be okay. And you want your filling in this turf to be sand, not the little rubber, because in some turf, like if any of you guys have kids that have played football on turf, you'll know that it has like little black rubber filling. You don't want that. Okay, you want to make sure that whatever they're going to fill it with is not rubber on top of it.
Okay, so it's sand, right, for filling.
Mm-hmm. I'll add cool turf to the list later on, and there's special kind, and there's special, and so I'll add some specs for that for everyone to have.
So with the shading that you show us at the beginning of the presentation, will that work with this turf? I'm sorry if you hear music. My daughter is practicing her quince, and I'm just gonna turn off my microphone right now.
It's okay. Yes, it should cut down on the heat of it. Yes, we have kids that play on the turf all summer long, and it gets it can get over 100 here. Okay, and so we don't, now if it's directly in the sun, then no, it is too hot to be on. You are correct in that. This backyard, they actually took this backyard and split it in half and built a pool for their family. And this is what I was left with. And this is what they turned it into. They put cement here, so now they would have a place to ride bikes. This is also turf. She added a sandbox. Back here, there's a big fence that covers her pool equipment. And then she has one of these pergolas where you can pull the shade back and forth as her shade.
I'd just like to mention too about the size of the sandbox. Do you see that? It's actually big enough to have multiple children get in it and play.
Yes.
For that sandbag box that you have there, do they have like a special cover for that? Because
they do. They do. This sandbox has like knobs all the way around it. So that when you put the cover on, you latch the cover around the knobs so it does not come off.
Okay, that is a question that I have because I think a provider here in Orange County in Santa Ana, she had issues with the cats. They were going into the box set.
Everybody does, but you can also lay down, you know, that orange fencing for like, you see it at construction sites sometimes. They make it in orange, they make it in black. You can lay strips of that across your sandbox and the cats will not go in it because they can't dig.
I use that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did that because the raccoons were tearing up my yard, and so I put it down.
Oh, okay. That's
So it stops raccoons also.
In this yard, I want you to notice how much cement there is. This is another yard that does not have grass, and these are rubber tiles before we put turf in. And then over here, she thought she would do a sandbox. And so this is like an open dirt section, but look how all the toys ended up getting piled there instead. So she went in and she finished out the cement, got rid of that random hole. We added the turf. And then these shade sails are another thing that are a life game changer. Because when the sun was rising, this backyard was too hot to go in, where now she could roll these down and it was degrees cooler. So now the kids could use this as their outdoor classroom. We also added all this storage. And so it got things up and off of the ground. And then on top of this deck is what is called, I don't know what their technical name is, but they're used for camping. Like if you had an RV and you wanted to lay out like a rug, but they're not a rug material. They're like that heavy outdoor vinyl. We laid that on top of the deck so that it was just a little bit more comfortable to sit on. This is a backyard that this provider was like, okay, this is my space. Like, this is where I don't want any kids back here. But what was happening was it was just turning into a collection of toys. Because remember, us as providers, we never throw anything away.
We keep it forever.
We do. And then, this shed right here is full of childcare stuff. And so we convinced her that the children needed more space. And so this is that yard. They put sod in. This is a crushed granite bike path. Over here is a mud kitchen, a sandbox. This is a close-up of the mud kitchen. She cut a pass-through in her fence so she could see what she would refer to as her side yard, which had like painting and manipulatives and construction. And then that diaper table I was telling you about is over here, the outdoor diaper table. On the other end of her yard, this became the child's cozy reading area, their music area. And this is a loose parts environment. So on this one, I actually brought in another consultant. Her name's Lisa Daly, and she helped design this backyard. The provider was ecstatic because now, instead of looking at this when she wanted to spend time on her patio, she can now look at this. And she said it was very peaceful and relaxing, and they could spend time. And when childcare goes away, she could live with this very easily. So we have nothing to lose. You guys have absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain, right? Our obstacles in family childcare: money to make changes. We are trying to survive, and to go in and make huge changes just sometimes feels impossible. Fear can be an obstacle, not knowing how to fill out the paperwork, being intimidated by it. And I feel you guys. I, to this day, get intimidated when I have to fill out a grant. Another obstacle is how do we do this? How do you upload a document? You know, the word download for me took me years to learn that, all I have to do is push this button, but sometimes I think we get in our own way, and we can support with how do you upload your documents, getting estimates and that process. It feels huge, but it's not that big. If there's somebody you need to do the work, make 3 phone calls, call people out, go online, You know, a lot of people, everything's online anymore. So look up a company and say, I need a sink put in. I'm going to go to this plumbing company. And a lot of times it'll say free estimate. Type in what you need and wait for that response. Time is our biggest obstacle. We not only are running our business 10 to 12 hours a day, we have our families, we have our home we have to care for. But again, you have everything to gain and nothing to lose by trying. Start planning. Figure out what the cost of your improvements are going to be. Look for those contractors, get your estimates, find people that are going to embrace your ideas. You know what you want and you know how to make those improvements. Remember that wish list? Incorporate your wish list. Your possibilities can be endless. Dream big. You're being given an opportunity to dream as big as you want to dream. Does it mean that you're going to get it? Maybe not, but you don't know that you won't either. Make sure you're looking at that environment. What will make your life easier? Give it a try. I promise you will not be disappointed by adding a sink to your environment. Your possibilities, again, are endless, and happy planning. How am I doing on time? I'm a little over. So do you guys have any questions? I'm just going to kind of scroll through these. These are the slides that Kathy has added that kind of show you like where to buy things. The different shade sales.
Can you go back? Can you go back to the faucets? I just want to say, because of COVID, because of COVID and washing your hands, they're often talking about having touchless faucets, and I think they're especially good for the adults over their kitchen sinks, etc. And so I happen to like the Moen ones, and it's just because these faucets can be giant. They could be 22 inches tall. So just make sure it's the correct size, because everybody makes them. Kohler makes them, Delta makes them. You can buy all these at, just local home improvement stores. Thank you.
Here's different types of flooring. Here's that floor. Just go to flor.com. But I'm going to warn you, please don't buy bright colors. Remember, it's overstimulating. No bright colors.
Go back just real quick on the vinyl plank flooring. So this is what I like to recommend is to use a Cortec product. You can find those in your local flooring stores. And the reason I like it, it has anywhere between a 15 to 30-year warranty. It's waterproof. It has a very thick wear layer, and it has a backing that helps with acoustics. And it's mold resistant. So the thing is, if you're going to Home Depot and stuff, take a look. You can look. There's one's going to be very thin and another one's going to be a little thicker. So Cortec is a very good product. Thank you.
And flooring's covered under your new opportunity. Just saying. A good vacuum cleaner is super important, guys. Less work, right? Less work for us.
Also getting dishwashers and washers and dryers that have sanitizing cycles in it. Washers and dryers, any LG model is the way to go. They're extremely highly rated.
Think about that sanitation part because of the whole COVID.
Same thing with the dishwashers. I went into Consumer Reports, and this is where I got my information. And again, with refrigerators, it's all the LG models. And if you're worried about your water, they have ones that have filtration systems in them.
And remember, you guys can wash some of your toys and things in your dishwashers to sanitize them. These are great for outdoor sheds, for storage. They work really well. They're waterproof.
Also, go back to that one real quick, is that Community Playthings is the company that sells those shelving. I saw which ones they were that you were showing that help divided up the room. They're the ones with the wheels. And these things last for 40 plus years. Their furniture is a very good deal because it's durable. You don't
Yeah,
have to
I don't
keep
really buy furniture from anywhere else but Community Playthings. Oh, we already did the carpet tiles. Sorry, guys. Here's options for the Coolaroo shades that we were showing.
So, excuse me, ladies.
I know we're out of time.
No, it's okay. No. We're just, you had mentioned, you had asked, if there were any questions.
Yes.
We have been getting a lot of questions in the chat. They've been asking, will the recording be available? So we just wanted to tell you all that yes, this webinar is being recorded, and the link to the recording will be sent in a follow-up email along with resources to all who have registered. So hopefully you all that are on are registered. If you did it and you know someone who came that registered, link up with them so that you could get that information that was shared to their email. There will also be more information on our on the website, on the Build Up California page and website. Also, if you are on Facebook, please be sure to go like Build Up California Facebook page, and you will get a lot of feed of information. But I want to ask you ladies some questions. There has been a lot of concerns as far as people wanting to say like add a sink outside. So is there a permit that is needed? What would you suggest?
You do not need a permit to add a sink outside. People put garden sinks out all the time.
Okay.
And so you would not need a permit to add a garden sink. The only time you're going to need a permit, I would believe, is if you're going to build it, like you're going to add on a restroom, like if you're going to add on a building to your house.
Okay.
But you do not need a permit for a sink outside.
Okay.
And the other thing I wanted to let you know, that sink that was from Kohler, that trough sink, that stainless steel sink, that can go outside also.
Okay. And does the outdoor sink also have to have hot water?
So ours do not. Ours only have the cold water.
Okay. So hopefully everyone is, you guys are taking these notes.
The reason that is that you don't have to run more piping over to get hot water, because you may already have a water spigot already, and you can just run it off of the existing line.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. And there's a lot of setting it.
Any other questions?
Yes, ma'am. A few on renovation. So if you build a structure in the outside area that is not connected to the house, will licensing allow for that for use?
No. So are you talking about building a childcare room that's not connected to your house? If that's what you mean, then the answer is going to be no. The whole reason that family childcare, what licensing expects, is that it is connected to your house. Now, we have a provider that it actually looks like, I think it was her garage, but it was a detached garage. But because it was covered with the same roof, licensing considered that to be okay. You don't find those very often. But, and it was a long time ago when we were allowed to convert our garages, like 30 years ago. But she still runs her family childcare out of it. And how she gets away with that is because it's all one roof.
Right.
You can't, if the person was thinking that if they put like a closed in little, because you can buy those little portable, looks like a room and has a door and windows outside, or could you, it's outside, and could you count that as square footage? No.
Okay.
You can't count that.
There's another
question. You can enclose a patio.
Yeah. If it's attached to the house.
That's true.
Yep.
Some great ideas. Some great ideas.
You
Great
can
ideas.
extend your patio and close it in and like add, because that's like adding to the square footage of your house.
Mhm.
And we've had people that have done that.
Okay.
But
Okay.
that would be for the other grant money, not this
Yeah.
repair and
And it-
renovation.
That would need to be permitted.
Tara, I have a question for you.
Sure.
If we wanted to have, many providers have filters where the water is, but if they wanted to add a filter for the whole house, what do you think about that?
Oh,
I think that
yes.
that's the health and safety thing. And I think that that's also
COVID.
allowable for your new opportunity that's coming.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I'm gonna write
Here,
it
I could talk a little bit about that. Is if you want to change your heating system, so they call it heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. And it comes to, I think we took that slide out, it's HVAC.
You did. I
And-
took that one out. Sorry.
Yeah, and it has, you could get your heating ventilation system replaced. And what I want you to do, we'll put this up somewhere, but write this down. You want something that can take MERV and capital, all these are capital letters, MERVS number 13 filters. So MERV filters filter out everything possible. And so if you buy a new heating system, and if it's just a heater, if it's not air conditioning, you just make sure when you talk to your local heating person, tell them that's what you want. And again, you can get paid for, I recommend everybody get their roof inspected and by a certified roof inspector, and get their heaters inspected and air conditioners by a certified heating inspector. So you know you're getting a quality inspection, because you want to make sure you've got enough, that the system you put in place has the enough capacity for the space you have.
That's true.
Kathy, but you're talking about heating, ventilation. What about the AC, the
Yeah,
condition?
same thing.
Same thing, okay.
Okay, because HVAC, HVAC, I don't know, it means heating, ventilation, and air. That'll be like conditioning. So
You
it's
guys
like
are
the
gonna
village
send,
people.
you guys are gonna send this information in our following up.
Yeah, so it means everything. So just have inspectors come and inspect them.
Did you
And the same thing, I mean, and this is going to take some more time, but if you have drainage problems outside, if the place you have the kids playing and the cement has settled, the concrete has settled and it's buckling, or water is pooling somewhere, have a reputable concrete person come out and take a look at it and tell you what you need to do. Because that's all health and safety. You don't want to trip, and you don't want to be getting water damage, get mold and mildew, etc., growing in the floor or in your walls or around your toilets or anywhere else.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for that question, Jessica. Some more questions that were all in the chat. So do shading structures need to go down in the rain?
No.
Okay, thank
No.
you. No. What kind of renovations do not require a licensed contract? Do you think
A lot of people have very handy folks. I don't want to just say husbands, but there's people that are in your family that are handy, and if they can do the work, it's okay. Now somebody like me, I would have to hire a contractor to put up a shade because my husband's busy fishing. He's not going to put up that shade. You know what I mean? So I think that you have to look at what your availability is. The one home that I said put the sink in on the other side of the kitchen, she was like, okay, my husband's not touching it because we won't have running water for a month. But she had a nephew that could do it, and that's what his profession was. And so he just did it like in a couple of hours. So I think that it just depends.
Okay.
Okay, it also depends on if you require a permit. Usually there's some things we're talking about you'd have to get a permit for, and other things you don't. So you require a permit. And a licensed contractor for these big jobs is just going to help protect you because they have to carry insurance. They're licensed by the state of California. It's like how your family care homes are licensed by the state. These contractors are licensed by the state. So you don't have to have one. You can build your own house. You just have to have permits.
Okay. Okay. Well, let me see. If we renovate, this is a good question right here. If we renovate or remodel, would it mean that we need to resubmit our floor plan and licensing would need to re-inspect our house?
Okay, we can't really answer that one this is a licensing question. Yes, they would.
Okay.
If it's licensing.
Sorry, I shook my head yes before
footage.
you said. I shook my head yes before you said we couldn't answer it, but
yeah. No, it's a licensing question. We can answer a licensing question.
Okay. So licensing would need to come out and re-inspect. They would have to do their whole floor plan all over again.
If you changed it enough, if you're okay, look at the Carla, put your pointer on the one to the upper right-hand corner. If you just move the furniture around and put new flooring in, because you could do that, and put a sink in, they don't have to come and relicense it.
Right.
Well, with my experience on that I know that providers have made changes, all they need to do is update, but definitely we need to ask licensing, okay? They need to update that form that we submit at the beginning with the layout of our property, right? And then put the new, like, if they're adding something, but like adding this space, right? They haven't, with my experience though, they haven't come back and inspected. All they want is that everything that we do is within the healthy and the safe codes that they require. So if you add in a room, but you're not getting the license to do it and you do it illegally, then you're gonna get in trouble for that. You have to go get the right permits to do it and the right people with a licensed state for construction and do it right. That's what I have here from other providers that had happened.
so this room right here that I'm pointing to was actually an addition. Like he had half of this room and then he wanted to extend it out. And so he actually had to pull his permits. He got his contractors. He notified licensing that he was doing a room expansion so that they knew that it was going to be for childcare. And then once everything was done, licensing did come back out just to make sure that the expansion was safe,
yes.
Right? Because they have to check for their health and safety pieces too. But it's really not, it's okay. You know, I think his analyst came out and was there, you know, just long enough to look at what had been done.
Okay.
And
we got enough for one more question. Two more, possibly more.
One more question because we have 2 minutes left.
Okay.
I'm sorry I went over.
No, it's good.
Okay.
I mean, I'm asking questions that are in the chat.
Yes.
So I know what I'm supposed to do. So is there a difference between child size fixtures and child size furniture?
Is there a difference compared to regular size?
Yeah, the heights.
Yeah.
I mean, for sinks, it's where they're installed.
Mm-hmm.
So like Claire was showing, they made it, you know, they cut those vanities so they sit lower. If you're buying a sink that you attach to the wall, it's at what height you install it at. But furniture, yeah, there's child height furniture and adult height furniture. If you go to communityplaythings.com, you can take a look and see all the child height furniture. There's different height chairs for different ages of children, because you want all your children to be able to have their feet on touching the floor. You don't want them sitting on their tippy toes, or their feet don't hit the floor at all. So there is a difference.
And if you open up or go on that website and look at community playthings or anywhere, it will tell you like infant, toddler, or preschool, you know, and so those things are automatically built lower to the ground depending on the age.
Okay, thank you. And
You're
then
welcome.
everyone viewing, please check your chat box where you could get more information on a list. Just check your chat box.
One more question, because I think it's important, this one. I'm sorry, Jamie. I just want one more question. It says here, with your experience, do providers have to close the room expansion, or can they remain open while they doing this remodeling or construction?
So as long as you're meeting your health and safety of the kiddos, you can remain open. That one picture where I showed you that he extended that room, it was closed off. He still did his family childcare, but he was licensed for his whole house, right? So most of you are licensed for your whole house. So he took them from being in that one section of the house, moved them to the other section of the house, and then made sure that they could not get back to where they were doing the construction. And then in the backyard, it was the same thing. He took that lovely orange fencing I was talking about. He fenced off the area where the building was going on, and he had them play away from it. So yes, in some situations, you can remain open.
Thank you so much, guys. We went over
You're
1
welcome.
minute.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
This was so great. It gave us so much information, more ideas on what to do, how to apply it, how to change it. You know, I think it was like an eye-opening on not being afraid to apply for this, right? So guys out there, all providers, no exception, turn in your application.
Yes,
Be
yes.
careful. Do it. Do it. You will not know if you're gonna get it if you don't apply. Okay, please do so. Please do so. Thank you very much. Pamela, do we have any or do you have any upcoming events?
I have a closing comment.
Yes.
Get sinks. Put in sinks.
Okay, it's in our list already.
Yeah, so Kathy talked about the checklist, and a lot of other great resources were shared on this webinar. For those of you who registered and are joining us via Zoom, we will be sharing a follow-up email with links that we talked about on this recording, along with the actual recording. And for those of us who are joining us on Facebook Live and didn't register, you can still get these resources. We're going to upload them to our Build Up California webpage. So just be on the lookout for that next week. And we want to thank you again so much for your time on a Saturday morning to wake up early and be here with us. Honestly, California couldn't do it without you all. So thank you so much for your time.
Yes, and I'm gonna close with dream big. We're closing with that. Dream big. Dream big, guys. Apply. It doesn't matter. Apply. Everybody is in a learning. Remember what we told the children? You're learning, right? So this is a learning moment for all of us. Apply. It doesn't matter. Let's make mistakes. We learn from mistakes. So dream big, guys. I'll see you later.